Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. Giant headline: Barack Obama, America-hating communist bastard that he is the absolute worst thing that has ever happened to this nation. He set the stage for the transformation of the country from a somewhat tattered constitutional republic to a top-down controlled socialist state. During his tenure, he quietly converted the intel and law enforcement agencies into his own personal police state to ensure that all political opposition would be eventually suppressed. His IRS targeted conservative groups with audits, and Church Militant was one of those organizations audited under his despotic regime. In the summer 2016, when the presidential campaign was in full swing, he, at the very least, went along with a plot to spy on the Trump campaign based on totally bogus information concocted by Hillary Clinton and unleashed the full force of the federal government against then-candidate Trump. The plan was to smear Trump so badly that he would have no chance of winning, thus giving the White House to Hillary and continuing the Obama conversion of America into a godless socialist country. But Trump won, and the communist apple cart was completely upended, but just for a short while. Before he left office, Obama approved of an FBI and DOJ investigation run by his hand-picked team of what would turn out to be a completely phony investigation into Trump's supposed ties to Russia. The media trumpeted it nonstop, relentlessly pounding it into people's minds with headlines that were flat-out lies, and what's worse, lies they knew were lies. Eventually, having won, Trump's Attorney General Bill Barr was able to appoint special counsel John Durham to investigate the phony investigation. So, after almost 3 years, the long-awaited Durham report was released this week, and it shows every single so-called conspiracy theory about the Russia hoax have all turned out to actually be true. It was a giant conspiracy to completely undermine Trump and hamper him from turning the clock back on Obama's American communists and reverse the destruction of America. It was a complete and total propaganda campaign orchestrated by a combo of the Obama White House, candidate Hillary Clinton, the Department of Justice, and the FBI. But above all, it would not have been possible. It could not have gotten a single tread of traction had it not been for the promulgators of the propaganda, the national media. Former Congressman Devin Nunes had this assessment after reviewing Durham's report.
The Department of Justice, the FBI, congratulations, you scumbags. You have successfully poisoned the minds of millions of Americans, while at the same time, you're going to have half of America, including myself, who doesn't trust anything the Department of Justice or the FBI have to say.
America is not, make note of this here, America is not being overtaken by treasonous communists. It has been taken over. The deal is done. It's over, and what's done is done. And remember, that point becomes clear from a report reviewing the actions of the highest government leaders back in 2017. That was 6 years ago. You don't think it's gotten worse since then with them controlling the White House?
The Department of Justice and the FBI are solely owned by the Democratic Party and their propaganda machine. And this Durham report ought to scare the living hell out of everyone, because think about this. It's only gotten worse since this time period. We're talking about 2016
Absolutely.
and 2017.
Pay attention. At one point in his report, you can almost hear John Durham's exasperation at the inability to actually do anything about this. Anybody. While reviewing the implications of his own findings, he concludes this, quote, "The promulgation of additional rules and regulations to be learned in yet more training sessions would likely prove to be a fruitless exercise if The FBI's guiding principles of fidelity, bravery, and integrity are not ingrained in the hearts and minds of those sworn to meet the FBI's mission of protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution of the United States. The answer is not the creation of new rules, but a renewed fidelity to the old, closed quote. In short, unless there is a change of heart, an embrace of morality by commies in control, nothing will or even can change. Don't hold your breath for that. But even though the report relates to events from 6 years ago, there's even more to fear. Never having to face the consequences of their evil, far from repenting, they just persist in it. The same cast of villains went straight back to work in 2020 to undermine Trump's re-election. They were going to ensure they didn't get caught with their pants down a second time, unless, of course, they're on Jeffrey Epstein's island. So they called on their media bullies to get into high gear again, colluded with every major social media platform possible, and did everything they could to deny the truth of the Hunter Biden laptop story, to cover it up in order to clear the way for Biden to get into the White House. We're going to skip the obvious issue about him getting into the White House and just say that at the very least, the American public was denied the full truth about Joe Biden by a combination of immoral, unelected government leaders colluding with giant media and social media. If the election itself wasn't stolen, your votes certainly were through being deprived of what you needed to know. And that was the whole point. Keep you in the dark, get you to vote early, multiple times if you're a Democrat, and get you-know-who, the cadaver, into the White House. America is quickly careening to its end. It was fashioned for and completely dependent on there being a moral people. Remove that, and it's lights out. However, the sorriest aspect of all of this is that there are still a large number of people here who do believe, but they are so wrapped up in business as usual, content, yes, to whine and kvetch about the commies, but, and here's the point, they are unwilling to actually man up, to sacrifice their fortunes and their time to alter their lives. That's the key. To ensure some kind of turnaround that the inevitable outcome is almost a foregone conclusion. The sorry epitaph on America's tombstone, if all this goes the way it sure looks it's going, the commies were allowed to win. Point, there are many conservatives, I can assure you, that I don't want in my foxhole, nor will I want in my prison cell. God love you. I'm Michael Voris.